Hey, it's the right weekend, and what I want to talk about today. I saw an interesting video this weekend of Cori Bush talking about how defunding the police has to happen while she has private security, and that's great for her. And that's the problem with defunding the police. Defunding the police means the common person, the poor people, they the ones that um, take the brunt of what goes on with the whole defunding the police, because less policing means more crime in their neighborhoods. Because the rich gated communities, like where I'm staying right now, it's a gated community. They don't, people, obviously there's always ways to break in, but people can't just come and go as they please. You can't come in with a car into this um, into this community without having access, without getting a card key or a code. So people with money will always have the extra security that poor people don't have. And that's the irony of this lady's statement, is the fact that, yeah, she wants to defund the people who protect uh, the poor while having tons of security for herself. But that's not the worst of it. That's the irony, because I was just reading this article, and the problem is you could still have you have police people, good police still doing work in these cities, uh, New York, Philadelphia, LA, Dallas, and all these big cities. You have police still working hard to uh, bring down crime, to arrest criminals. But the problem is you have these prosecutors that, I know people hate to hear the George Soros, but you have George Soros funded DAs, these progressive DAs that just and they just don't press charges on some of these crimes, and that's where the problem lies. Like, the police could do all the good work that they want, but if the prosecutors decline to prosecute, then all their work went for nothing, because now, let's say you arrested a carjacker, right? Well, now it's up to the prosecutors to try the case. And if they're not trying these cases, then they're getting out scot-free. It doesn't matter. Let's say sometimes the cops are called to testify, but if the prosecutor is not doing their job and going after these criminals, then they're just going to be let back out on the street. That's the problem with these ridiculous bail reform bills too. It's like, okay, I get it. Poor people shouldn't be stuck in jail because they don't have money. I understand. But what's going on in New York, for example, I can just give you examples that I know of, is because, I got friends and family who are in NYPD. They're telling me they could arrest someone 2 or 3 times in a week, and they're back out on the street. Now I get it. Let's say they commit one crime. All right. All right. Give them you don't have to, you could release them with a trial date or whatnot. But if in that time between the trial date and they're released, they get arrested again, especially a third time, you got to give them some sort of bail. You got to get them off the street. That means that they're doing some dirt, and they need to be, if they can't afford, in that sense, if they can't afford the bail, then let them be in jail, because you're talking about someone who's a repeat offender. And why should you put them back on the street? They should be in jail to their trial date. So like that, they could get their sentence. But that's not what's going on in these cities. Because what the progressive have learned, and you see it, like a big case, let me see if I can show the article real quick. I can't see my screen real good right now because I'm shooting outside and I have sun. So I'm gonna, here's the interesting article from National, National Interest. It goes, defund the police means law and order for only America's elites, which is true. But the interesting story that he talked about is, bear with me because like I said, I can't see it that good. I'm trying to get to the story about the St. Louis prosecutor who the St. Louis prosecutor, what I think it's there in the headline. No, wrong one. Defunding the, oh, here goes actually the problem was this one here. That was about defunding the police. This is here. Defund the police is a problem. Not prosecuting criminals is worse. And the example here is in St. Louis, prosecutors in the office of Kim Gardner failed to appear at a series of pretrial hearings for accused murderer Brandon Campbell. Consequently, a judge dropped the murder charges against him. But meanwhile, where is it? But remember this, and the St. Louis attorney has made a name for herself as a progressive activist. Gardner doggedly pursued Mark and Patricia McCloskey after they confronted left-wing agitators outside their home with firearms. After the McCloskeys successfully argued Gardner's personal politics had infected the proceedings, she was removed from the case. The local, so she was so set against prosecuting these people for, stupidly the way they did going about it, protecting their home. I mean, you're not supposed to point a gun at someone unless you plan to use it. Granted, her gun wasn't functional, but this is what you call political prosecution. She was so intent on prosecuting these people who she disagreed with. And I mean, I don't know the politics of the alleged murderer, but the fact that she was on top of this case, but neglected this case just shows you where her, basically where her mindset is when it comes to prosecutions, is that she's not gonna care about real crime versus, or I should say, activist crime versus real crime. And that's the problem with these, electing these DAs that do not want to prosecute real criminals. You got to get these people off the street before they could do another crime. That was the whole broken windows theory that they complained about, that they've basically given up on in New York. Giuliani started that broken windows theory. Is basically, let's say, for example, turnstile jumpers. I mean, it seems like an innocent crime, but let's say you, instead of writing them off with a ticket, you bring them in, you run to see what other offenses they have, and you'd be surprised. They could have drugs, gun, bunch of different type of crimes, but you bring them in for that petty crime and you catch them on something else. That's the beauty of the broken windows theory. Like, people didn't like stop and frisk because you profile people. But if, let's say, for example, the cops know the streets that they're in, and if you see certain people over and over again, you're going to want to, now granted, I understand it's unconstitutional, but in that sense, it was something that worked to keep the crime down. Now, maybe you should have to, maybe you could put for cases like that where, the cops surveilling certain people and you want to, maybe there should be a judge on standby to You could send, now we have everything online. Cops could clip, take a couple of pictures, send it to the judge, and the judge could approve something. Have a judge just basically for that stuff, just so they could process those type of immediate issues like that. You still protect them constitutionally, and like I said, you got cameras on your phones that you can click on, send them to the judges, and go, okay, can we, stop and frisk this person when, when we see them. Let's say they go into the building. Well, we'll wait there for them to come out because they look suspicious. Let's, where you could still protect the person's constitutional rights, but still police the community. It'd be interesting. I'm just spitballing that idea, right? It just came to my mind right now. So, because we need something to clean these streets up. I mean, we have the blueprint. It was done before. In the 90s, before Giuliani, New York was one of the most violent, most dangerous cities in the country. And in 8 years, he transformed the city to one of the safest countries in the world. I mean, safest cities in the world. So we have the blueprint. We just need to be able to implement it. So, you have Curtis Silva running in New York City. It'll be interesting to see if he'll be able to overcome the Democratic majority again, because he's not it's not like he's a conservative Republican. He's a New York Republican. And I love the way he's doing it. He's going out into the communities, especially the people of color communities, and showing his face, and hopefully that could be a blueprint of how to win back the cities. Is you go into these communities, because Blacks and Latinos, they're more conservative in some of their beliefs than they realize. But when you grow up in the city, you're just programmed to believe that Democrats have your best interest at hand. And like I was talking with my lefty brother-in-law, and I told him, I said, how is it easier to get elected? Is it easier to get elected when the politicians using your, taxpayer money to basically win your vote by throwing money at you, by saying, I'm going to give you this, this, and this? Or is it harder to say, look, listen, we need to get our fiscal affairs in order, and we need to cut back on certain things in order to get our budget on, trim the fat, so to speak, and get our budgets in order, because we're spending more money than we have. So we got to figure out a solution for that. But so which way is it easier to say, I'm going to give you stuff versus I need to take stuff away? Which is easier to win your vote, especially most common people, that they don't look too deep into these issues. They think the government has a unlimited credit card that'll never be called to order. It'll never be called in. So anyways, I'm gonna leave it there. I was trying to get something done early today before we go out today. Before it just got too hot to be out here to do a video. So anyways, hope you guys had a good weekend, and have a good one.